There are two types of special right triangles. There are 45 degree, 45 degree, 90 degree, along with 30 degree, 60 degree, and 90 degrees. So these are special right triangles that actually form specific rules. Okay. So in this case, what we're going to do is this worksheet is kind of broken up into the two. So we're going to focus on one rule, and then we're going to go to the other half and focus on the other rule. Okay. Again, not insanely hard material, but the hardest part is the multiplying and dividing by radicals mostly. Okay. So let's take a look at 45, 45, 90. So here's the theorem. There is no converse. Someone asked me last hour. There's no converse to this right now. Okay. In a 45 degree, 90 degree triangle, the length of the hypotenuse is the length of the leg times the square root of 2. So if we look right here, we see that this angle is congruent with this angle. So what kind of triangle is this? Who can tell me? It's isosceles. So another name for this is an isosceles right triangle. Okay. Questions on that? Okay. So what we're going to do is we're going to apply the rule for these first two. So if we take a look, we have this leg is 7, this is 45. There's only 45 degrees left, so we know this side is 45 as well. So if this leg is 7, what is this leg going to be? Holly, what's it going to be? 7. And that makes the hypotenuse what, Lucy? No, it's not. No, if you take a look, we're going to take that leg and multiply it by what?
2.
Not just 2.
Oh, 0.5.
No. What's this right here? Square root of?
2.
Yeah. So this is just going to be 7 square root 2.
Oh.
That's it. That's okay, Lucy. Don't worry about it. It's new. We're okay. Questions on A? Lucy, can you close that door, please? Thank you. Let's take a look at B. So B, here we have 12. What's Y going to be? 12. And now we know both legs. What's the hypotenuse going to be? 12 radical 2. That's it. So if you're given the legs of an isosceles right triangle, also known as a 45, 45, 90 degree triangle, the legs are the same because it's isosceles, and the hypotenuse is the square root of 2. Added on, multiplied to it, okay? Any questions on A or B? Because now we're going to get into C, which is it gives you the hypotenuse instead of the leg. So before I move on, any questions on A or B? Okay. Let's take a look at C. Now, in this case, they're giving us the hypotenuse. We know that this is isosceles because this is 45, that's 90. In order to complete the 180, we know this has to be 45 degrees as well. Okay? So we have the hypotenuse, but we need to find the legs. So remember that our triangle rule is x square root 2. Okay? So that means I'm going to take this 5, and I'm going to set it equal to x times square root of 2. Oh my gosh, sorry, not x square root of x square root of 2, sorry. Okay? So what do I do to get x by itself? What do I do to get x by itself? Jackson? Nope. How? Not multiply because it's already multiplying. Divide, yeah. So I'm going to divide this side by radical 2 and this side by radical 2. So that means I am left with x equals 5 over the square root of 2. Now what do I do? Shane? Rationalize that denominator, which means? Very good. So I'm going to multiply this by square root of 2 over the square root of 2, or radical 2 over radical 2. I multiply across. This leaves me with the top, 5 radical 2. What's the bottom going to be? Jane? 2. Remember, 2 times 2 is 4. Square root of 4, 2. So this is your x and your y. So before I move on to 4, what questions do you have right now? Is there anything? Is there anybody still writing before I move on? Because I'm going to have to probably erase. Yeah, I'm going to have to erase. All right, I'm going to clear the screen. All right, so letter D. So you're given the hypotenuse. I'm setting this equal to x times the square root of 2. Step number 1. Nikki, what do I do? Divide both sides by 12? Yeah, very good. All right, so I'm going to divide both sides by the square root of 2 on each side. This leaves me with x equals 12 over the square root of 2. What comes next, Leanne? Very good. So I'm going to rationalize, multiply top and bottom by radical 2. This leaves me with 12 square root 2 over 2 times 2 is 4. Square root of 4 is 2. Am I done? No. Devanshi, what's going on? Okay, how's it going to simplify? I'm sorry, say one more time. 3 root 2 over 2? Where are you getting that? Okay. Lucy? It's going to be 6 radical 2. 12 divided by 2 gives you 6. You cannot do anything with the radical unless you have another radical somewhere. Okay? Think of it this way. If it's in the house, if it's under the radical, and there's something else that has a radical, you can kind of merge those either with, if they're dividing or multiplying or whatever. If it's outside of the radical, those are the only things that can merge also. Okay? So in this case, we're going to do 12 divided by 2, which leaves us with 6 radical 2. So that is what I get for x, and this is what I get for y. Questions on this before we move on to the next rule? Is there anything I can address? Okie dokie. Let's move on to the 30, 60, 90. All right. So the theorem for 30, 60, 90 right triangle is that the length of the hypotenuse is twice the length of the short leg. The length of the longer leg is the square root of 3 times the length of the shorter leg. So here they give you the hypotenuse, 2 times the short leg. Long leg is root 3 times the short leg. So here's the deal. You must have the short leg. You cannot do anything without it. Short leg is like your mom. You might not appreciate her, but you know who runs the house. Okay? Tell me I'm wrong. All right, so now the question is, how do we identify the short leg? Who can tell me? Like, not, and I don't want to say, oh, I'm just looking at the picture and it has an X by it. Look at this picture and tell me what can help you identify the short leg outside of what's. Go ahead.
It helps me because it says extra full 3, and on like the little key down there. Oh wait, no, it's X because it's hypotenuse equals to.
Okay, now riddle me this. Now, how do you identify it?
Because of the angle.
Okay, which angle?
30.
That is how you find the short leg. Remember last topic, we said, hey, these side lengths go in order based off the angles of the triangle. That means if you know where the 30-degree angle is, directly across from it is your short leg. Okay? Directly across from the 60 is your long leg. And obviously the hypotenuse is always the largest and across from the 90-degree angle, so here is your hypotenuse. Okay? Does that make sense? Always look for the 30-degree angle. You will always be able to identify the short leg that way. Anybody's, all right, can I move on? Is there any questions so far before we move on? Just anything. Okay. Let's take a peekaroo at letter A for this side. Again, we're giving exact answers. All right, so here I have a 60-degree angle. There's my 90. I know this is my 30. Whoa, there we go. I go directly across. So 5 is my short leg, and I know that's my X. This is my long leg, and I know that is X square root 3. And this is my hypotenuse, which I know is 2 times that short leg, or X. So that makes the long leg equal to what? Someone tell me. Go ahead, Emma.
Okay.
Long leg.
Oh, 5.
That's a short leg.
5 radical 3.
5 radical 3. Very good. So there's your long leg, and the hypotenuse is what? Oh, yeah, that one's 10. Very good. Let's take a look at B. Now, are there any questions before I move on to B? Okay, so now they give us a 30-degree angle, so we know this guy right here is the short leg, so that's just like my X value. This has to be 60, so this is my long leg, and that's X times the square root of 3. And this is my hypotenuse, which is 2 times X. So what am I going to do here to solve for this? I need to get the short leg. Tony, you got it? You got it? Oh, sorry. Let's see. Michaela, what do I do? So they give me the hypotenuse. Which is
Divide the hypotenuse by 2.
perfect. Divided by 2, right? So that makes the short leg equal to what?
6.
6. And then the long leg is equal to?
6 radical 3.
Very good. Questions on B? Anything? Okay. How many of you are like, this is so easy right now? How many of you think the next problem is going to be a little bit trickier? No? Holly, you got this? Good. I'm glad to hear it. All right, so let's take a look at C. C is telling me this. This is across from the 30-degree angle, so this is my short leg. This is my long leg. This is my hypotenuse. Again, remember, this is X. This is X square root 3. And this is 2 times X. What am I going to do here in order to solve for this? Gotta get that short leg. So what do? Shane?
Divide 6 by the square root of 3.
Perfect. Divide by the square root of 3 here and the square root of 3 here. So this leaves me with x equals 6 over the square root of 3. What's my next step? Damon. What's the next step?
You would have to, where you divide.
We already divided. What am I going to do? This is an R. Phone a friend, help him out.
Yeah.
Go ahead, who?
Okay. You would rationalize it.
Very good. How do I rationalize it?
You multiply it by root of 3 over 3.
Very good.
3 over 3.
Perfect. All right. So this now leaves me with 6 square root 3 over 3. 3 times 3 gives me 9. Square root of 9 is 3. So what's next? Good.
You would simplify it.
Okay, what's it going to be in the end?
It will be 2 square root of 3.
Perfect. All right, so the short leg is 2 square root 3. That's a lot of work just to get that short leg, but you can't get the hypotenuse without it. Now someone tell me, what's the hypotenuse going to be? Emma? No. Close. Cass? 4 radical 3. Remember, this is just 2, so that 2 is right there, and then times 2 square root 3. Questions on that? Any questions I can address so far before we move on to D? Because you guys are going to get plenty of practice on the other side. So, okay, let's take a look at letter D. Is anybody still writing this? I am going to erase. Okay. All right, so it says find the altitude of an equilateral triangle if the perimeter is 21 inches. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to draw my equilateral triangle. Okay. Equilateral triangle, each angle has a degree of what? Yeah. 60. Very good. So this is 60, this is 60. Now, what they're asking you to do here is to drop an altitude, which makes these two congruent. It bisects the angle, right? But this altitude is not just acting as an altitude, it's also acting as a what? Begins with an M. Close. Median. It's acting like a median, right? So that means this is congruent with this. Now, if they're saying the perimeter is 21 inches, what is this side going to be? What is this side going to be? Abigna. What's this side going to be? 7. Now, if you look here, what type of triangle do you have when this gets split in half? Who can tell me? Connor. What type of triangle do I have right here? If it's just like if I use just half the triangle, what type of triangle is it?
Right triangle.
Okay, it's definitely a right triangle. What else? What type?
Oh, it was 60, 30, 90.
Yeah, 30, 60, 90. So if I just redrew this little part, this is 7, this is my 30, this is my 60. Now, one thing that's really nice about this is that if that's 7, I know this is a median and these are congruent, this ends up being 3.5, right? So what does this area end up being? I'll just call that 3.5 square root of 3. That's it. This is where these rules come from. It comes from an equilateral triangle. I'm not going to get into like all the like really nitpicky details about it, but this is why the rule exists. 45, 45, 90 triangles come from a square. It's just a consistent pattern that happens. Questions on letter D? All right, let's take a look at the backside. Now the backside shows, okay, we've got about 8 problems here. And you only have to solve for one side. So it shouldn't be too bad. But what I want to do is I want to go through and see I want you guys to kind of write down which rule goes with which. So number 1 should be which rule? Nikki. There you go, the 45 rule, good. Number 2, Cass? The rule for number 2, what's it going to be?
Oh, it's the 30, 60, 90.
Very good. 30, 60, 90. 3, Anavi? Good. 4, Lucy?
45.
Very good, the 45, 45, 90 rule. And then 5, Macy?
30, 60.
Very good. And 6, Shane?
The 60, 30.
Yeah, 30, 60, 90. Very good. And the next one, Ayana?
45.
45. Whoa. And the last one should be. I don't think she's here today. I don't see her. She's not here. Lauren. What's the last one going to be? 45, 45, 90 or 30, 60, 90? Which one? Yeah, okay, yeah, 30, 60, 90. Very good. Okay. Solve for those. I'm going to call people up. Remember, you're only solving for one side, so you don't need to solve all of them unless you choose to. I'm going to set the timer for, let's say, like 5 minutes because some of them are pretty easy. Okay. Show of hands, who's still working on these 8? Okay, just checking. You guys get out here what time? 6? 5? You guys remember? 6? Yeah, that's what I thought. So we got some time. We'll just do a shout out rather than going up to the board. All right, someone give me the answer for number 1. Macy.
2 square root of 2.
2. What'd you get
2 square root of 2.
for the first one?
Yeah.
Not 2 square root 2. Close.
2.
Should just be. Well, this is a 45, right? So this should be whatever the leg is times the square root of 2, which is. Yeah, there's no division there.
4.
4 square root 2. Very good. You're only going to divide there if you're given the hypotenuse, not the leg. All right, let's take a look at number 2. So that you're given the short leg. Connor, what is the long leg?
Square root 6.
Very good. Questions on these 2? All right, now here you're given the hypotenuse for number 3. Let's see. Lauren, what'd you get for the short leg here? 3. Very good. And this one right here. Now this one will require some division. Eliana, what'd you get for 4?
Square root of 10 over square root of 2.
Square root of 10, just over 2, not the
Yeah.
square root of 2. But very good. Questions on these 2? Does anybody need to see this one, number 4? Okay. Can I do number 4? Sure. All right, so if I look at, this is equal to x times square root of 2, right? So this is going to be x is equal to square root of 5 over the square root of 2. When I rationalize, that leaves me with 5 times 2 over 2, right? Which leaves you with square root of 10 over 2. Does that make sense, Tony? All right, let's take a look at 5. So 5 is very similar. Shane, what did you get for that one?
7 to 7 radical 3 over 6.
Very good. Does anybody need to see this one? Okay. Next, for number 6, Abigna, what'd you get? 2 radical 2, very good. Any questions on these before I move on to 7 and 8? All right, 7. She's not here. Jackson, what'd you get?
3 radical 2.
Excellent, 3 radical 2. Does anybody need to see this one? Okay. Last but not least, Alex, what'd you get for 8 for this? You didn't get 8? Phone a friend then. This one's actually pretty easy.
Square root of 10 over 2.
Perfect. Does anybody need to see any of these? Going once, going twice. Homework is unrealized tonight. Okay? Bless you. And then tomorrow's warm up, I got more problems for you guys that'll look similar to your test. So, whew. Those who watch at home, have a great day.